Hey, this is Marshall, and I'm here with Jack Bourne, and we are doing installment number 2 of the Look Over Perry's Shoulder email boot camp. I'm really glad that you guys are all here, and just before we get started here, just want to make sure you know we're doing a third session January 8th, and that is going to be a combination of, hey, here's some things that really never got talked about the first round, and also open Q&A. We'll go for at least an hour, and I think that would be a really nice supplement to what we're doing here. And what we're doing here today is 2 more contestants, and just rapid fire. We got some really beautiful feedback from last week. I think it was eye-opening for a lot of people. And if there's specific things that would be helpful to you, you can mention in the comment box. We'll try to adjust our presentation to what people are needing. And Jack has gone and picked 2 more contestants who are completely unknown to me. So again, just to make sure that you see the whole process without skipping anything. I'm just doing this, cold. So, Jack, anything you want to present or explain before we?
Yeah, why don't you send the controls of the screen over to me? But while Perry's doing that, what I wanted to let everyone know is that today we've got 2 very very different business. So this is going to be very very interesting. Plus, he's not going to have as much time as he had last time. So this is sort of like the we're increasing the stakes on the magician to really perform. So before we get started, I wanted to mention something. So I was looking over some of the application comments, and there were a lot of great businesses that we could have done case studies on. So I want to thank everyone who sent in their information. But something came up. A few things came up that I really wanted to point out. And so Perry, I thought this might be a good way to kick things off and just spend a few minutes talking about this. So one thing that came up was, it may sound like a minor thing, but I think it's actually really, really important. And this also came up last week when we were doing the Ninja Dojo in Jacksonville, Florida, where we were doing hot seats with clients who flew all the way to Jacksonville, Florida, for us to diagnose their businesses. And what this is that in the Ninja Dojo hot seats, we would frequently ask them, okay, tell us about your business. Now, what is the problem that your clients are having that you solve? And once or twice, the person would launch into basically talking about their product or their service or their thing. And we say, no. You told us what you do. What's the problem? Like, basically, what's the pain point? Think about it from the point of view of the client, of your audience. What is their big problem? And so this was a theme that I also saw in some of the application, some of the comments that came over, because one of the questions that I asked everyone was, what is the problem that your audience has that you're trying to solve? And Perry, do you want to riff a little bit on why it's really important for you to have a real clear idea of what the problem is that your audience has?
Yeah, so I get this kind of famous saying that I like to repeat, which is, nobody ever wanted a drill, they just wanted a hole. And so often we get to this place where, like, okay, if I could just get better at explaining my drill, everybody would buy it. And, like, well, how do you know that the drill is even the solution here? How do you know that we don't need a jackhammer or a circle saw or, some other implement, right? And if I can go back to what is the hole that the customer wants, or what is the pain that the customer is in, and start from there, then if I need a fresh piece of paper, I need a completely new product, great. I'm open to that. If I need to drastically change how I explain my product, great. But most importantly, I'm probably Well, as you saw in the last session, we didn't even talk about the guy's product hardly at all. And that was actually key to why it was such an effective approach. So, Jack, was that what you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very, we all fall into the trap every now and then of just getting so focused on that thing that we're selling or the service that we're selling. And just as Perry mentioned, we dove really deep on the psychological profile of the audience in the last session that we did. And I made a comment at a certain point. I said, hold on, just want to point out to everyone, it doesn't even matter at this point really what it is that we're selling, whether we're selling leads or we're selling a done-for-you service or a DVD. It really doesn't matter, because once you can communicate and demonstrate that you understand what the person is going through this clearly, the solution is almost, it almost doesn't matter. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the victim number 2 today. Let's see if we can bring.
I call them contestants, and Jack calls them victims.
Well, actually, I think you're the victim. I'm trying to throw some curveballs at you today.
It's a game show.
There we go. So we've got a fellow named Ryan Masters, and Ryan, I actually met Ryan at your Chicago Rainmaker event. Really great guy. So let me try to bring Ryan on the line right now. Let's see if I can do this here. Last time we had a little bit of difficulty. Ryan Masters, here we go. I want to unmute Ryan. Hold on, folks. All right, so I think I unmuted Ryan. Ryan, can you hear us, and can you talk to us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep, we can hear you great. Okay.
Hey, Ryan.
Question number 1. So much easier than last time. All right, so Perry, let me run through the questions one more time. Now, again, these were questions that I came up with, so Perry saw them on the last presentation, but he had no idea what questions I was coming up with. So here are the questions. So question number 1, Perry, my ideal customer is blank, and their big problem I solve is blank. So Ryan said, Perry, my ideal customer is a guy who's already working out, so he's in the fitness space. He's a fitness expert. And his big problem I solve is helping him release the brakes on what is holding back his results, namely nutrition. Most guys believe they have a workout problem, when truth is they have a food intake problem. And that last little bit, Perry, I thought was really, really, really key, because that's a formula that you and I have shared with folks on a different training. You think you have this problem, but actually you have this problem. So I thought that was really, really, really powerful. Moving on. So I solve my ideal client's biggest problem / frustration by selling, and he sells a simple nutrition framework. And Ryan, you call it the food intake course, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So question number 3. So what makes me or my business or solution unique is, and this really gets to the heart of the USP, because if you're not unique, why should someone choose you? So what makes Ryan unique is the trust relationship I build with prospects via email and video prior to any sales page introduction, and I'll talk about that in a second. And what makes his product unique is that it teaches guys a simple 7-day process for fitness nutrition that they can actually follow. So to the first part, one of the ways that Ryan gets traffic to his offer and to start to really attract an audience is he uses a lot of YouTube videos. He has a YouTube channel. All right, so question number 4. Perry, I'd like you to write an email that persuades my ideal client to take the following step or action. And he wants the email to convince someone to purchase his food intake course online. Number 5. Perry, the type of person I cannot help or do not want to work with is someone who truly believes in a magic pill and isn't going to work or invest in themselves.
That sounds familiar.
So what is the lead magnet you use to entice someone to opt in? So here's a picture of Ryan's one of Ryan's lead gen page. So there's something called the 3D chest workout, and so he collects what their age is and their name and the email, and then he sends them the workout. And then this is a screenshot of Ryan's his YouTube channel, where he drives a lot of his traffic. So do a good job for Ryan, or he's going to come and beat you up.
Cool.
So, Perry, do you want me to go back through any of these questions, or do you want to just do you want to open up the text editor and I'll send the controls back to you?
I think I'm okay on that. You can send the controls back to me. So, Ryan, this is great. Great, totally different kind of situation than the last guy. So, get some nice variety in here. This is very much a B2C thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so and you might speak up just a tad, Ryan. You're just a bit quiet. So, can you give us all an idea? What ultimately are these guys trying to do or be? Or, I have a feeling I know, but spell it out for us. What's the hole we're trying to drill here, really?
Sure. A lot of the guys, or most of the guys, there are a couple different things. They're trying to either just improve their overall level of health, so they have more energy and aren't kind of running out of breath if they're going up the stairs. Or one father was emailing me saying he was happy now that his face wasn't red when he was moving his daughter's couch with her stepfather, whose face he was kind of panting and out of breath. And then a lot of guys are saying that they want to be able to take their shirts off at the pool and not feel embarrassed or ashamed or anything in that sense.
Yeah, I wanted to just jump in real quick. There's a fellow named Jack who typed in something that I also wanted to mention, and that is, so Perry, when you were talking about people don't want the drill bit, they want the hole. So Jack was pointing out, and I'll echo this, that a lot of times what they actually want is to hang a picture of a family member on the wall. So a lot of times it's getting to the why behind what it is that they actually want. Like, what's the emotion?
What do you mean, hang picture of family member?
Well, okay, so this is an analogy. So I'm just going back to your analogy of the people don't buy a drill bit, they buy the hole. But what they actually want is the hole to put the peg in, to hang the picture of their family on the wall. So it's getting, what I'm talking about is getting to that whole emotional layer that we dug deeper to last time. Am I making sense? Like, getting to the emotional button to why someone actually wants something.
Okay, so in this case it would be, and these are pretty general. Can improve level of health, or running out of breath is specific. Is there a reason behind the reason?
I think just from my talking with the guys is that the picture that they're trying to hang on the wall is improve self-confidence and self-image. I don't know if they would necessarily ever come out and directly say that, but I think that's really the motivating factor behind all of these secondary wishes of six-pack abs, bigger chest, better looking body. So
and improve self-confidence and self-image so they can what?
Some of it is so they can feel more confident around women, or get the appreciation, more appreciation or smile from their wife again, and feeling more confident at work.
Are these guys fitness junkies?
No. There was one guy was a doctor, and another guy he was a CTO for a tech company. So these are all a lot of businessmen and professional grad students. They enjoy fitness, but they're not reading everything on the internet, like crazy hardcore junkies. No.
Okay, that's good to know. How did you come to find out? Like, when did it suddenly dawn on you that this was a nutrition issue and not an exercise issue?
That was through a personal experience of mine, and that I've always been kind of a fitness guy working out, and I thought I was kind of in shape. And on the sales page, I have a picture of me where I thought I was kind of in shape. And there was a story I went to. I was trying to put on weight, put on muscle, and I went to the pool one time with a girl that I used to date. And when I took my shirt off, she wasn't being mean, but she was kind of teasing me, and she said, "Oh, I don't remember that being there," kind of pointing to my belly. And that was when I was like, okay, something's not working here, and I've been going to the gym and I've been working out, so I feel like I should be making progress. And so then I turned my attention to nutrition and read several books and all kinds of studies and started.
You skipped a step. Why did you go investigate nutrition?
Well, because I felt that I had been doing everything I could at the gym, because I've been going to the gym, I've been doing the workouts, and so I felt, well, there must be something else, and I knew that nutrition was a part of it, but I didn't know how deep or how important it was until I started really researching it and applying it better in my own life.
Could you give me, I don't want a PhD dissertation by any means, but could you give me a basic outline of what the nutritional mistakes are and what the gist of your program is?
Sure. A lot of the nutrition mistakes are that I think guys believe that you have to be perfect. You have to eat only fruits and vegetables, and there's also a lot of complexity depending on what they've seen on the internet, because on one page they'll see you need to eat no carbohydrates. On another page they'll say, someone else is saying you need to eat tons. So there's a lot of conflicting information, which I think causes a lack of confidence as far as in what they're trying to apply, and therefore they don't necessarily follow through with it because they're not sure if it really works. My system that I teach them is all about little steps, and like a lot of workout programs or courses you'll see talk about 90 days, which was popularized by P90X, and that never worked for me because that was too long of a runway. It's too far to see out. 1 day is obviously too short, and so what I found is 7 days, what I call the simple 7 days, a perfect framework that gives you just long enough of a scope to see some results, to see some positive feedback, but it's short enough to be actionable and take steps and follow and then I provide them in that framework food plans and then a adaptable framework that they can adjust it based on what they want to eat. Without getting too technical, I teach them a lot of tools, things like Evernote and systems and processes, so that this stuff doesn't take, sure, the first week or two it's getting used to, but after that it takes less than 5-10 minutes to have your meals planned and prepped and know what you're going to eat for the week.
And give me so what's the philosophy of the food system itself?
It's about teaching guys to. I'm teaching them how to learn how to set up a system and learn how their body responds to food, because everyone's different, and so based on what you eat, your body will change somewhat differently than based on what I eat. And so instead of telling you, hey Perry, you need to eat the exact foods I eat, instead I say, here's a process that when you follow this, Perry, you will start building muscle or start losing fat goals, because it's a system that you're following.
Ooh, okay. Now, didn't you say at the beginning here that you were trying to figure out what's a good lead generation magnet for this?
No, I don't. Not necessarily.
Maybe Jack can.
Well, yeah. So I was asking Ryan for some screenshots of the lead gen magnets, and so I didn't quite understand how the 3D chest workout was a lead into that, but maybe it's a lead magnet for something else.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. So I'll explain that. So one of my most popular videos is what's the 3D chest workout, which is a full workout that I put together, and they get the workout for free. It's I teach them about it in the video, so that's where they first meet me and kind of start to get a sense for who I am, because it's very important for me to build a relationship with food these guys. And I've taken your autoresponder bootcamp course, so they download the workout, they get the whole thing for free, and I give them some tips, spoon feed it back to them, and then in that Infusionsoft sequence, I open the gateway to, hey, would you like to download a free food intake sample map? And I explain how I thought, I was going to the gym all the time, and I wasn't getting results, and I didn't have a gym problem, it was a workout problem. So that gets them into the food intake sequence.
Okay, so I'm having an idea here, and you're going to have to tell me if this is useful or not. But okay, what you just said here was different. Everybody's body responds differently to food, and right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it seems like that immediately gives you a very strong way to push against all of these different fad diets, and it's the paleo thing, and it's the low carb thing, or it's this thing, or it's right. I mean, isn't it true? Like, this is a major thing that you're up against.
Right.
Is it the major thing you're up against even?
Yeah, I would say it's one of the biggest. Yeah, because they've seen so many. They're looking at a diet or something and saying, "Oh, is this the diet that finally works?" Absolutely.
Right, and all these diets are like these big giant bandwagons, right?
Right.
It's like, well, all my friends are doing this low carb diet, so now I'm going to do this low carb diet, and now like I get this huge craving for potato chips, and it won't go away, and
right.
Blah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if and I'm really going in a weird direction here, but what if the first step, so imagine this, imagine that here's your landing page, okay? What are you, and by the way, your traffic, people get here how?
From YouTube. All my traffic comes from YouTube.
Okay, great. So, give me the most common, what is it, a video, and then after the video, they pop over to your website, or what?
Right, exactly. The most popular video is the 3D chest workout, so they watch that, and there's a link I say in the video, if you'd like the workout for free, click the link below, and I'll send it to you. So that takes them to the opt-in page that Jack showed earlier, and I grab their age, their name, and their email and send them the 3D chest workout.
Okay. And send. Okay, great. So what if we'd said something like this? What if we said, answer these 10 questions. Well, let me say something else first, okay? What's the last thing that you're telling them at the end of that video, which is why they want to go to the next step?
I tell them if they want to start building a bigger chest and adding muscle mass, they can click on the link below and download for their free 3D chest workout.
Go here now, basically, right?
Right. Correct.
Okay. Now, how long before you're talking to them about nutrition in your existing funnel?
It's on the 4th email, so 4 days after they've downloaded it. The first couple videos are just content about how to do some of the exercises and refeeding the tips.
Okay. Is it possible that you're losing some people that you could get, or are there other directions that you take people besides nutrition before this?
Yes, there are other kind of funnels I have, very different workouts that can bring them into the system. But if they just came from this chest workout, yeah, it's certainly possible that I lose them a little earlier.
Well, okay. So, all right. So, I'm thinking out loud here. But what if we said this? Most guys have no idea that a major obstacle to a muscular chest, we can fix this later, but I'm just spitballing here. Most guys have no idea that a major obstacle to a muscular chest is in what they eat. This problem is made 100 times worse by all the fad diets and crash weight loss programs out there. Low carb, paleo, etc. You agree?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a headline here we're writing. Let's make this bigger font here. I personally, where's my font size? I personally like to do stuff like font sizes while I'm writing because it kind of helps me. I do a lot of editing while I write, and I try not to do it too much here while we're all talking. But okay, so so please answer these. Here we go. These 10 questions before you go on to the bigger chest program. We can go fix this later. Okay. This is a huge problem because every body responds to nutrition differently. Odds are 90% that any particular program will only make you flabbier and tastier. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Please answer these 10 quick questions before you go on to the bigger chest program, and I will deliver custom results, customized advice specifically for you. Now, let me explain what I'm doing here. As a copywriter, I think if I really want to help you, sometimes I'm going to completely reinvent the offer and not just say something in a better way. So I'm gonna give you a proposal here, and you tell me if you like this idea or not. But here's what I would love to have. I would love for you to ask these guys like 5 or 10 questions where the answers to their questions put them in 3, 5, 10 different categories, so that you can tell them, hey Joe, you are special. You are this unique snowflake, and you need an approach that's as unique as you are, and you need to ignore all these other people out there that are giving you this overgeneralized bad advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can do that, then you've made a really good argument for why they need to ignore everybody else and listen to you.
Right.
Now, how does that feel to you? Is it okay if we go down that path?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It feels good.
Okay, now, there's a technical question of how we go down that path, and we could go from simple to complex, okay? So, and by the way, so let's say that we're just going to sit here and we are going to, we're going to, we're going to go through your thing manually. Like, so your book, I assume, asks them a bunch of questions, and then they answer the questions, and then it says if you answer this question this way, then you need to do this, and the other way you do that. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, it's a bunch of videos, so yeah, it tells them if they're trying to basically. Some guys are trying to lose fat, some guys are trying to build muscle, and some guys are trying to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. So those are kind of the three crossroads, or different directions that I'll send them down.
Okay, and are there also further other things, I don't know, about their body or their weight or their this or their that even further fine tunes everything?
There is, based on their weight, yes, weight and height.
Okay, so you got three forks in the road based on the first step, and then you got each of those has a couple more forks based on their height and weight, right?
Correct.
So doesn't that mean there's like at least 10 different combinations of advice?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is it true that if they take the right combination of advice, they're like way ahead of the game?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got several ways that you can do this technically, okay? So you could ask them all the necessary questions right up front on the opt-in form,
Mm-hmm.
right? And isn't it true you could go, well, all right, if they answer this question this way, then they go into this autoresponder. If they ask this question this other way, go into the other autoresponder.
Right.
Right? Okay. Right, and you can say as soon as they've clicked submit, you can say this advice is specifically for you and is not suitable for 9 out of 10 of the rest of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
If you should not give them your customized advice, but you are welcome to send them to, URL, so they can get their own customized advice.
Right.
Okay, so now you've got a possible viral component, right? And now you can say, please pay close attention because, anybody that's giving you different advice than this is probably making your problem worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're giving you cookie cutter stuff.
Right. And the whole thing is cookie cutter doesn't do it. So, I think that's a starting point. And the more general, the generalized approach here and the point that I want to make is, if you can sort customers out really early and be telling them exactly what you need to be telling them instead of just giving them a page of YouTube videos or just dispensing this generic advice, it makes your conversion rate go up after the fact. It also makes it easier to get them in the first place because they know they're going to get customized advice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You could even add this. You could say at the beginning of this page, you could say, warning, cookie cutter weight loss advice is at epidemic proportions. Okay, case in point. The world is fatter than ever before, despite the magazine racks bulging with diet advice. Right?
Yeah, that's a good picture.
Most guys have no idea the major obstacle to you having a muscular chest is in what you eat. This problem is made 100 times worse by all the fad diets and crash weight loss programs out there, low carb, paleo, etc. This is a huge problem because every body responds to nutrition differently. Odds are 90% any particular program will only make you flabbier and pastier. I created a simple test that will solve this problem. Let's call it a quiz because quizzes are easier than tests. Okay, so you're gonna need a modest, like this is like $100 on Elance kind of stuff, a modest little bit of PHP programming or something, just to kick people into the right thing based on the answers that they gave.
Right.
But I think that's gonna hugely help you out.
I agree.
And now, so you put your 10 questions, your 5 questions, or whatever it is. And I always like to write the questions in such a way that it's not very obvious what the question, it's not excruciatingly obvious what the question has to do with the end result. I mean, I don't like quizzes to be completely transparent, right? Then they seem cheesy, and that's kind of a minor point, but I think it's worth bringing up. So you put in your 10 questions, and I mean, you know what the questions are, right?
Right.
And isn't it true that if everybody that comes in your funnel is now sorted, you can have a teleseminar and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this teleseminar for these 3 groups of people because this applies to them and it doesn't apply to everybody else, and you can keep saying you're special, you're unique, you have this problem, you're one of these you're between 5'5" and 5'6", which means that weight problems take on this additional gravity for you because because a 6'4" guy can take on 20 pounds and absorb it better than a guy that's and blah blah blah. Right?
Right.
Okay, so where do you want me to go from here? Because, well, I mean, you tell me what do we need to write or what do we need to stick in here?
Well, so this would be kind of the new offer opt-in, and then I guess I would need, based on segmenting these guys, would you say that I guess I could have maybe one final pitch email, but it would have to be tweaked based on these 10 questions. Is that what I'm gathering?
Well, yeah, and you can write it modular. So maybe we can write that email, and then in here we can specify what the modules are.
Okay.
Right. So okay, here's the 10 questions, and so now they go fill that out. And there's going to be a thank you page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to help me understand what is going to come right after the thank you page. Is this going to be a pitch for your customized program, right?
Well, I was thinking after the thank you page, that's when they'll get a sample program, a sample what's called food. I call them food maps, which is a meal plan for for this next 7 days. And so they would have a sample one based that I've put together based on their responses, and that would kick off an email sequence that first 1 to 3 emails would be helping them digest that map and offering some more tips, and then the 4th or 5th email would be the pitch to buy the course. Now, if you feel that's too long, and I should just throw it after the thank you page.
Yeah, actually, okay, so 2 times you've put the sales pitch like 4 days later, right?
Right.
Okay, I think that's a big mistake. I think you're going to lose at least half of your buyers by doing that.
Okay.
What I would prefer that you do is give them the pitch right away, but then make sure you're, okay, even if they don't buy, you're still going to give them helpful advice, and you can keep nudging them back to that sale. You can have emails later that are a full pitch, but I've noticed this a lot with my customers, is they're sheepish about going ahead and asking for the money and asking for the sale. And part of it's because I'm not a super hard pitch guy on the front end, and I operate with the expectation that I'm going to earn your trust and we're going to build a relationship here. But none of that contradicts, saying, hey, I got a product here and it's really good for you and you ought to buy it. I mean, you're doing these people some good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't be sheepish. That's what I'm saying. So, you don't have to wait 4 days or till email number 4 to tell them, hey, by the way, I got this nutrition program. And after they go that step, you don't have to wait to sell it to them. The best customers are actually going to want to buy right away, but they won't if you don't ask them to.
Right.
Okay? So that will really help. That way, you could have people go to YouTube video, take the quiz, buy the nutrition program. It all happens on the same day.
Right.
And not waiting 2 weeks, because believe me, their interest is going to have sagged a lot in the next 2 weeks in all the clutter of their life, because they're hotly interested in this topic right now, this minute.
Okay.
Okay? So,
so then, I guess I would put the pitch right after on the thank you page, and if they don't buy, then kick them into the email sequence with the food map.
If this product was customized to, let's just say that there's 10, or you tell me, how many different cubby holes are we putting all these people in?
I would say 5 to 7.
Okay. So how hard would it be for you to make 5 to 7 different versions of this product where 5 pages is different and a lot of stuff that doesn't apply to them has got chopped out?
That wouldn't be difficult.
Okay. So now let's say you're selling 6 customized courses based on who these people are, right?
Right.
Is there a further customization step where you could even generate a report that's based on a nuance of their thing where there's like 10 different reports, and so that's actually 60 combinations? Or is that getting ridiculous?
Yeah, that might
Just
be getting
asking.
a little. Yeah, no, probably a little too complex.
Okay, I just want to point out that for some people you could do that, and now it would be customized down to a 1 to 60 instead of 1 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
So might be useful to somebody out there. And Jack is the feedback, are we getting useful feedback here, like this is helpful to people? We're going in a weird direction here.
Yeah, there were some questions that we can get to a little bit later, or we can get to now. Up to you.
No, we'll do it later. I just want to make sure, and by the way, this happens a lot. Like, well, hey, let's sit down and write the sales pitch, and like, well, we ended up reinventing the whole thing before we got done, and that makes, if you're a copywriter charging people money for stuff, this can make you 10 times more valuable.
Hey, Perry, real quick, can you slide the text window over just a bit so that there we go.
Sorry. Okay.
No problem.
So so the pitch on the thank you page then should be something like this. Dear first name. And this could just as well be an autoresponder. Okay, I don't really care. You, capital letters, have a unique situation, body chemistry, exercise regimen, and what? Give me like one other thing.
And goals, different goals or
goals. Okay. I think it would be a crime to dispense generalized one-size-fits-all advice, since one trip to the gym should, how about the locker room, should be all it takes to convince you that everyone is different. We all look different, and we all need to eat a little differently. Now, I'm going to guess here, but you tell me if this is right. This is a huge key to diet, nutrition, and exercise programs that are not torture. I mean, is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Right? It's like if you are doing exactly what your body needs, or giving your body exactly what it needs, you don't have to starve it to death or beat it into submission. True?
True.
Okay. In fact, losing weight, looking better, and getting in shape can be surprisingly natural and fulfilling when you stop fighting and punishing yourself. True?
Yep, very true.
And I mean, I'm just sitting here, I'm kind of making this up, except I know from everything else I've done in my life. I mean, I am no fitness guru or nutrition guru or anything. But you know what? I'm 43 years old and I've been around the block a few times, and I figure out like everything in life is like this. Like there's the punish yourself path, and there's the like honor who you are path, and almost anything, right? And so like guess what? And people kind of like to be told. So okay, so here's an interesting thing I've learned, especially in the weight loss business. If you have struggled with losing weight, looking fit, and give me another, like an end benefit, like being attracted to opposite sex. Give me
turning heads.
and making heads turn all your life, it might not even be your fault. And the not your fault thing is really useful, especially when people have struggled against things for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be that none of the advice you got matched your uniqueness. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So tell what do we okay, we're trying to get him to part with money for this course, right?
Right.
Okay. So how about this? I have logged your unique answers to the nutrition and fitness quiz, and I have a customized version of my, what did we call this?
Food intake course.
Food intake course. It's 80% easier to implement than almost anything else you've ever tried. So tell me about the food intake course. Like, if I was sitting in front of you and you were convincing me why I should part with my money for this, what would you tell me?
Well, kind of along the lines of what you were talking about earlier and beating themselves up, I would tell you that the course breaks things down to simple, actionable steps that you can see, that will let you see progress, and that progress will help keep you motivated, because a lot of guys say they lose motivation and they don't stick with it.
Okay, hold on right there. So tell me about time frames. When am I going to be able to tell that this made a difference, and how am I going to know?
Well, they will, if they're following everything, they'll be able to tell within the first 7 days in terms of their energy levels and how they're feeling. It'll be about at least 2 to 3 weeks before they start to see changes in the mirror.
Well, okay, so it takes about 21 days to see. How about in about 21 days, your wife, girlfriend, or even co-workers will start to notice that what?
Maybe we'll start to ask you if you've been working out or what you're doing.
Okay, wondering what you're doing. In about 21 days, your wife, girlfriend, and even coworkers will start to ask you if you've been working out, and they'll be wondering what you're doing. But you'll notice the difference in as little as 7 days. Here's what you'll see. Tell me what are the signs?
Well, starting off, they'll see improved motivation, better energy levels throughout the day.
Okay, energy levels. How am I going to know? What am I going to be doing? What thought is going to be going in my head when that happens?
Instead of drudging to go to the gym because they're tired, they'll be ready to go in and toss the weights around.
Okay, instead of dreading the gym because you're used to feeling tired all the time, you will surprise yourself by noticing that you look forward to throwing the weights around? Tell me more.
You will start to, one thing that
Actually, tell me more about that. I actually want more detail. Don't before you
Oh,
go to the
okay.
next thing.
In terms of, let's see, we'll start weights around, and you will notice, well, they'll notice their strength gain, the amount of weight that they're lifting is going up.
The amount of weight you're lifting will go up almost by itself. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, now give me another one. We're writing little bullets here, really.
Okay. They will. I think a lot of guys were saying is they didn't realize how easy it is in terms of following. Let's see. It teaches you. Let's see. He says it teaches you to help your own body and learn your own metabolism, or how easy it fits into their everyday life, so that they don't have to. Because a lot of guys, I guess, are afraid of having to turn everything upside down.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, so tell me about that. Like so it's these meals and planning and all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, let me mention one of the things that is informing me here as I work with you is I had this friend named Steven who he paid some money and he talked to this high-end nutritional consultant, and the guy put on this super specific diet, and this is about 6 years ago, so I don't remember it very well, but he was telling me all about it, and he said, okay, so I can eat carbs and I can eat cheesecake and I could do this and I could do that, but I just have to make sure I do it within certain parameters. So it's not like I have to have brain surgery or it's not like one of these carb diets and strawberries are free. So he's always ordering strawberries. I can have all the strawberries I want. And then he's he was noticeably, he was thinner, trimmer, better, exactly like you're saying here. And he's it was actually pretty appealing. It was like, oh yeah, I've done some of these crazy things. They're misery, right? I must have potato chips. I've never craved potato chips, hardly. And then all of a sudden, right? It sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, and so everything I said, was that basically true, or would you change it a little bit?
No, I mean it was true in the sense that it sounds like he kind of gave him what I try to do, which is bumper rails, when they're bowling, or guardrails, that way they've got the whole road to go through, but it's not, you have to walk on this tightrope, and if you fall off, the whole diet's over and you've failed miserably.
Okay, so here, let's go in a direction. I'm going to insert this ahead of the other bullet. I want you to tell me what I get to eat in your program. Maybe it's different for different people, but generalize for me.
Yeah, it's different, but they get to eat, I mean, it's kind of broad, whatever they want, but it's not, but not junk food. I give them...
is never junk food, or only this little tiny bit, or what? Can I eat cheesecake? Can I eat chocolate cake? Can I eat potato chips? Can I eat, steak? Help me out here.
Yeah, they can start off. I start off teaching them they can have junk food and the cheesecake, but they need to eat it earlier in the day, not before you go to bed. And what will happen if they're following the program towards the end is that they're really not going to, because of the changes they're seeing in their body and the energy levels that we talked about later, the craving for those foods is going to go down. Because I'm not telling them they can't have it. We're just telling them when to eat it, and then because of the motivation that they're getting from seeing these results, it makes it easier to win those battles of, hey, you know what, I kind of don't even have that urge for the cheesecake anymore.
Okay, so I'm kind of inventing as I go here, but tell me if this works. So you do get to eat desserts, potato chips, and junk food, um, at least some. I'm just going to ask you to eat them before 2 p.m. Is that
Hmm.
fair?
Yes.
Okay. The second one is your body is going to stop craving crappy food because my program ensures that it gets the nutrition that it needs. Half the reason people crave crappy food is they ate crappy food, which left their body hungry. Your body doesn't really know that it doesn't want cheesecake. So it lies to you. You believe the lie, and the lie makes you fat. Now this is the Perry version of dieting, okay? But is this true?
Yes.
Right? Um, Now instead of um, okay, instead of dreading the gym, right? Blah blah blah. Um, and then I'm going to circle back to the original point, but it's really important that you follow a custom program because what your body needs in order to not get cravings is not the same as the other guy or the other guy. It's unique to you. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so now I want you to pay attention to what we've done here. What we've actually done is we've made customization one of your USPs.
Right.
Okay? Anytime you customize something, you make it easier to sell and probably reduce the pain and suffering. And by the way, I think this is a major direction that all marketers need to be going in. Because, frankly, I think the good old-fashioned free report has kind of run its course in the world. Yeah, it'll always work to some degree, but it's only going to get harder and harder to make it work because people are increasingly reluctant to give away their email addresses. They're increasingly reluctant to buy anything that is not free because there's so much free stuff, and the best way to combat it is by customizing, which is what the internet is inherently good at anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not hard to make custom books, custom products, custom videos, custom combinations of things. It's not hard to get a programmer to, make some code that sorts out the matrix and dumps them into the different funnels. And it's not really all that hard to have, 3 or 6 or 10 funnels. I mean, it's kind of part of what I teach anyway.
Right.
Why not just, put them in the right funnel from the start? And by the way, half your messages are all going to be the same. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like you're making 10 completely unique funnels. Probably each one has like 1 or 2 unique emails, and then, well, this email goes in 5 of them, and this email goes in 3 of them, and it's not that hard. It's just a few extra steps. But it's the few extra steps that set you apart from the competition.
Right.
So, let's write a close, and
So if you're
we'll wrap this up, okay?
all right, perfect.
So, your custom. Sorry, what did we
I
call
wonder
this
if you
again?
say like, so if you're tired of, again, kind of because the pain I think is the guys are going to the gym, so they're doing a lot more than a lot of guys who aren't doing anything yet. So they're like, hey, I'm going to the gym. Why am I not seeing results? If this is all there is, like, no wonder people don't work out, because I'm wasting my effort or spinning my tires in the mud.
You're tired of going to the gym, putting in more effort than most people, but still not seeing results. You know why most people don't work out. And the real problem is not the effort. It's all the other stuff that sabotages the effort. You can now you can get the results you want by, and just like give me like how many minutes a day do we need to spend planning meals, nutrition, having a strategy?
I'd say 15 minutes a week. Like, because I teach them on Sunday, day one, when they do all the planning.
Of planning. Most of it is all laid out for you. You just need to fill in the blanks by deciding what you'd like to eat. Deciding on Sunday what you'd like to eat on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. That plan saves you from all kinds of last-minute, poorly made choices that keep you fat and flabby. And then I would insert some kind of guarantee. We're running out of time here, and
Sure.
so I'm, link to purchase page. And then it kicks off an email sequence. So let's, just put that in there. And you can have a pitch to buy in the email sequence. I mean, you can say a lot of this stuff twice, right? So we need to wrap up here, but help me like fill in any little last blanks or tweaks before I go into the contestant number 3.
No, I mean, I think that's really good, and it makes a lot of sense in that by providing these kind of custom solutions, it will help set me apart a little bit more, and it falls in line with my strategy of building a relationship and really helping these guys. So I appreciate that.
Okay.
So someone,
Jack, what do you got?
Well, a few last things before we say goodbye to Ryan. Someone had asked, do you require a gym membership? Because if you don't, you might want to mention that somewhere. Whether this email or another email in your sequence, you might want to mention that.
No, that's a good point.
And then the other thing that I was thinking, and this is just real quick, so it seems to me you're doing sort of the turn the corner approach. You're doing lead gen with 3D chest workout, and then you're trying to turn the corner towards nutrition, because I get the feeling that nutrition is the type of thing you kind of have to you get them with a shiny object, but then you slide the nutrition in there, because most people are not like out there scouring the net for nutrition, I would imagine.
Right.
Not nearly as much as like abs and chest and arms and stuff like that. So along the lines of turning the corner from the chest conversation to the nutrition would be the concept of, and you could divide it up into a few emails where you talk about how one of the things about looking better so you can feel better and have more confidence, also turn more heads, is it's the proportion of your your chest to your to your waist. So if you're like this huge hulk of a man, and you've got like everything is big, like it's hard to tell like exactly what's big. So if you've got like the big chest to waist ratio, then that really really accentuates it. Plus, and nutrition helps them get there. Plus, nutrition helps them, want to go to the gym more often, not be as tired, and be able to lift more when they're in the gym. So it's sort of like this combined thing. And I would even throw in there, that there was a time where you didn't even want to hear it. Like you were like, God, like I just need to lift more, and start with that conversation in their head, like, it's not nutrition, it's all a bunch of bunk,
Right.
But anyways, cool. Awesome stuff, Ryan. Any last questions before we bring on victim numero dos?
I just
No.
wondered.
Go ahead.
Just wondered if there's any stuff from the audience that we should.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. All right. So there's a general question about. So someone had made the comment about how it seemed to her that it was way easier for you, Perry, to step in from the outside, not knowing anything about someone's business, and to peel back layers of the onion than to be inside and just be so close to the topic. So she was asking, do you have any suggestions on how to place yourself outside of the business, and so that you can take a look at it with fresh eyes and go through this same process?
The bobsled runs. Well, yeah. So, I mean, that's a huge reason why, going through any kind of coaching program, whatever it might be, and getting outside eyeballs, or like what we do in team action groups in the bobsled run. It's like, well, all right, you're there, and there's 9 other people on the line, and everybody sees what you're doing with outside eyes. Which is why I wouldn't be caught dead not in a mastermind group.
Right.
If you're barely scraping 2 pennies together and you can't do that, well, at least find some other people, or like go on the master discussion board, and you will. It's like everybody here has access to mastermind because it was part of the deal when you signed up. I guess unless you deliberately declined it, like go on the mastermind board and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. What does everybody see that I don't see? Because I have the exact same problem. I mean, I can't see the forest for the trees in my own business. It's like this is a very, very common thing, and you just gotta get other eyeballs.
We have X-ray vision into other people's business, and it's almost like we're blindfolded with our own business.
Oops, I dropped my headset. Pardon me.
I'm glad that wasn't you. It sounded like you tumbled down the stairs.
Yeah, it wasn't my body. Yeah. So, anything else?
Someone was asking specifically, why did you change it from weeks to days? Is it to shorten the time period in the reader's mind as much as possible?
Oh, where was that? Help me out here.
I think it's one of the bullet points.
Okay, next. 90 days, 7 days. In about 21 days, your wife, instead of saying 3 weeks.
I think that's it.
Because in my opinion, 21 days sounds more finite than 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. It's just a little tiny thing there,
right?
But it's
Great.
Important.
So save that, because we've also been getting requests for the notes as they are, just as you've written them. So go ahead and save that.
I will save it exactly as is. It will be in the members area in a couple days, just like that.
All right, Ryan. Thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Perry. And this, just quick aside, this business I started, I was telling Jack, it came from a seed that I got from your Maui conference, which was the first conference that I'd been to. So.
Oh, well, good. Well,
this whole thing
awesome.
From that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So let's see. We're gonna put Ryan on mute, and next. Let's see here. Next we have Donald. Okay, so we have a husband and wife team, so I'm going to bring both of them on. Let's see here. All right, so we should have Donald and Heidi. Are you guys there?
I'm here. Hi.
All right, so am I.
All right, that's Donald and Heidi. Okay, Perry, send the presentation screen back to me, and we'll go through the questions real quick for victim number 3. All right, so here we go. We got Donald and Heidi, and so going through the questions real quick, we know what they are. Perry, my ideal customer is blank, and their big problem I solve is blank. So this is a huge, taking a completely different direction than our first victim today. So Perry, my ideal customers are parents who have a lot of money to spend on their 3 to 6-year-old, and their big problem I solve is providing a warm, nurturing environment for their preschoolers' first steps from home in a unique farm setting without dominating or controlling their child.
Okay, back up a second.
Yep.
Are these people rural, or are they buying a?
Well, they're on the line. So Heidi and Donald, what are you guys?
Well, we're in a rural setting, but we're not far from a couple of pretty big population bases, like within 10 minutes.
Okay.
But we're on a farm. We're on a 12-acre farm.
And do you sell an experience?
We sell basically a Waldorf-inspired in-home preschool, sort of private school pricing, but the experience is they get to play with animals and spend 80% of their time outdoors. There's no media. There's no sort of overt teaching either. They're really, it's play-based and nature-based is the program.
Okay, that's interesting. And how often do the kids come?
Well, ideally, I'd like to get 15 to come 5 days a week, if I could. It's only a morning program from 9 to 12.
Yeah,
or 9 to 1, actually 9 to 1. And so they would bring a lunch with them. So there's 4 hours, and I would provide an organic, healthy snack in the middle of the morning.
Okay.
The call to action that they said that they want is for someone to come to an open house or a tour of the children's nursery on the farm.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a little unique in that I don't know if it's a niche exactly, but the program is not academic based, and there's so much out there that there's such a push for children at such a young age. So this is the antithesis of that. This is basically you're trying to give children their childhood back, so they can just run, jump, and play, dig in the mud, play with sticks. We build fires and cook soup over a fire, and pet the llamas and go for nature walks, going down into the creek, and that whole it's a completely different experience than any other preschool. So it's trying to get people to buy into that, less media for their children, real natural, organic, if you like, childhood that we're trying to sell.
Okay, and could you explain in just a few sentences what is Waldorf?
So Waldorf is Rudolf Steiner was a German educator and philosopher that basically came up, kind of like Maria Montessori. He came up with his own education philosophy, and it's based on the idea, that you nurture children through their childhood, and you don't push them into academics before age 7 is really his thing. But so this is just Waldorf inspired, Steiner inspired. But it's basically the idea, there's several schools around the United States that are Waldorf schools, and they're full, accredited schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. But this is an in-home program, so this is slightly different. This is, where you have 1 or 2 caregivers in a farm setting, in a home setting, taking care of your children, and, they bake bread, and so everything's, like I said, nature and play-based, like self-directed play. You're not trying to teach them and trying to direct them to do certain things. You're really allowing their imagination and free play to take the child where, to allow them to come into their own. childhood, basically.
So really, this is the artificial version of what would have happened 150 years ago to every kid.
Pretty much, yes, exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. I mean, the caregivers are purely there to nurture the children and to make sure they're safe. But you carry on with household chores, and you bake bread, and you make candles, and they play with beeswax, and they feed chickens, and yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Well, let's just admit that, we all live in an artificial world. The last guy, all his people are going to the gym, which is an artificial way of getting exercise. Like, well,
right.
We're not chopping logs and stuff, so
right.
I guess we're going to, go lift weights in the gym. So, and, we never have to mention this to anybody, and they never have to realize,
right.
Right? So... Right. I love it.
That's exactly
okay.
right.
And Heidi, what is do you already sell this, or what's the closest that you've actually come to selling it, or?
Well, I just had my first open house, and so I threw it out there on a lot of mommy sites, just an invitation to come and check it out, and I had a fair amount of interest, and then at the last minute, quite a few people just bailed out. Their child was sick, or this was going on, just busy in their lives, and so I had a fairly small turnout, and actually 4 people came. One was just really somebody I'd met who's a homeschooler, so I knew she wasn't even really interested. She just wanted to come and do something with her kid that morning, and then.
Wait, tell me more about her.
Oh, she's just a homeschooling mom that had met me, and then had gotten 2 emails through 2 different sources, one through a homeschooling website and one through a mother's network site that I put the invitation out to. But she had also met me that evening, so she thought she had to just come and check out what I was all about, and so she came with her kids. So I knew she wasn't she's not a customer per se, because she homeschools her own children. And
well, hang on.
Okay.
Why are you assuming she wouldn't be a customer?
Well, I asked her.
She was going to be my first guess who would be a customer.
I asked her directly, and she had mentioned finances and things being tight and whatever, and I just said, well, there might be other homeschooling moms that could use some free mornings, or to teach maybe older children, and so they could drop off the younger ones, or that kind of thing. And she said she would definitely help try and get the word out, but she explained her whole situation with finances not being there. But then the other woman actually was fully on board, and she signed up. So out of 4 people that came, 1 already signed up, which is great. So if they know what they're looking for, it's an easy sell. If they don't quite get it, then it's a little bit more difficult.
Okay, so somebody signed up.
Yes. Somebody.
Okay, and how much is it?
It is. It works out to be basically. It's a little over $100 per day per week per month, if that makes sense. So if they're here for 5 days a week, it's a little over. It's like $575 a month. And
wait. If they're here, how many?
5 days, 5 mornings a week.
Wait, okay, so it's actually $20 a day.
It's about $27 something.
$27 a day. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, by the way, so in your area, how much does a good babysitter cost? What's a rate? Here it's about 10.
Yeah, it's about 10 here too.
Okay.
10
all
an
right.
hour.
Babysitters are $10 an hour for babysitters. Somebody type in the chat box, how much does preschool cost? I don't have any idea. Maybe Jack can watch for that, because there's probably going to be a price argument that we need to make here. And okay, Jack. Okay, go. Keep going with your slides.
Someone said $720 a month.
700 preschool.
Is that full day?
find out. I'm sure we'll find
Yeah.
out really soon. Okay. Is there more slides that we need to take a look at here, Jack?
Let's see here. I was answering questions. So, well, the type of person they cannot work with is someone who closed-minded to the Waldorf-inspired philosophy or wants a cookie-cutter preschool, quote, factory experience where the kid is just a number for the sake of convenience, location, etc. So, I mean, excuse me, I think that there's plenty of opportunities to sell against, the machinery of the way the approach that a lot of schools and communities take. But certainly take it in whatever direction you want.
Okay. Anything else?
No, the only other slide is for the what's their lead gen, what's their lead magnet rather. This is what their page looks like. If you want to look at my screen, pretty straightforward website. I will mention, and I don't want to get us too off topic, but sign up for our e-newsletter is not really going to stand out and get you a whole lot of opt-ins. So I think that you really want to come up with something that is a lead magnet. It could be a report on the seven unusual things about child's early development years that the mainstream media or won't tell you. You could work with the title, but you should come up with something, whether it's a video or a report or something along those lines that really gets people enticed to hand over their name and email, and possibly even tell
There's
you a
some
little
noise
bit
in the background. Hopefully,
Oh,
make it go away.
Oh, sorry, that was me. Is that better?
Yep, that's a lot better.
That was a baby monitor. Sorry.
Okay, so Heidi, what is our advertising media here?
Really, it's been a month for where I've gone to look for getting the word out, just because I'm not really sure how to
Hey, Heidi?
would be good. Yes.
Heidi, I think you've got the monitor too close to the computer because your audio is coming in and out.
Okay, sorry. Hold on. I'm just trying to plug in something. That's sorry. 1 second.
Okay, can you give that answer again? So how are you getting traffic to your website?
Through the mommy sites. There's different meetup sites and mommy playgroup sites that moms belong to. Schools and potty training. I mean anything. It's just mom forums, online forums.
And are they local?
In my area, they're all local. Yes.
Okay. Well, so this is really interesting, and yes, Jack, this is very different from building abs, and it's very different from insurance agents. So, thanks for good job on the variety here. So first of all, I'm just going to kind of guess that a good format here is going to be something like the once a month either free or inexpensive, visit to the big farm.
Right.
Like I see this as if I frame it in direct marketing terms, the Seats business. This is a program that you sell via live event.
Oh yeah.
Where live event, so if it was a real estate thing, yeah, there's a real estate seminar at the Holiday Inn and we're putting butts in seats. Okay, you're in the butts and seats business too. It's just, kids at farm with mom or dad.
Right.
Okay, and maybe sometimes it's on a weekday and maybe sometimes it's on a weekend. I'm not sure.
Yes, I just had an event like that was free, and 40 families signed up and showed up. That was amazing.
40?
Yes.
Oh, so tell me about the close ratio and like what happened.
Well, then it was a little more difficult because of the volume of people. I couldn't really talk individually to many people. I was sort of, running around showing children chickens and lots of things. So it's really, I spoke to 3 or 4 moms, and they seemed very interested to come back and learn more. But I didn't get the email or anything. I wasn't really prepared for that. It was more or less an open play date, you could say, on the farm. Come and check out the farm, check out our llamas. It was the day after Thanksgiving, actually. So it was a nice holiday day with dads were around and families could come out and do something cool. And yeah, I mean, just 40 people responded, and I think about 30 or so showed up. There were still some people that something else came up or whatever, but we had a good turnout. We had a lot of people come.
Okay, so I think there's an adjustment in the presentation and how it's made, which is you need to somehow get parents separate from kids, and you need to have a little parents workshop.
Mm-hmm.
I would call it something like how to get your kids experiencing nature every day in a Xbox world.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And okay, so what are we selling against? We're selling against, oh gee, my kid's 6 and she's already doing Facebook.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And the you have to be very specific about the video games that, okay, so these kids are what ages?
Well, they're little, so they're still young. We're also looking to try and do an after-school program. Same reason, same thing with older children. Where they're not just going home and whipping out the Xbox or the video games, like you said. But the children I'm targeting for my little preschool are, the 2.5-year-old to 5-year-old.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I have a 2.5-year-old. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so if you are going to sell this to me, which, by the way, would not be hard, and let me tell you why it wouldn't be hard.
Okay.
Like, first of all, the mom doesn't have to stay, right?
No.
Okay, so she can drop the kid off and go have coffee with her friend.
Right.
Okay, so that's a huge selling point because, frankly, all moms want to get rid of the kid. Sorry, they just do.
Except
every
me.
Every parent knows, right? And they don't want to get rid of them all the time, but, like, at some point you do want to have a real conversation with an adult, right?
Right.
So my 3 of my 5 kids are homeschooled. The oldest is not, and the youngest is not because she's too young. But the middle 3, they go to this thing called One Day Enrichment on Fridays, which basically means my wife only has to teach 4 days of homeschool instead of 5, and it's a huge relief. So she goes out to coffee with her friend, and she gets some shopping done, and she relaxes. Okay, so this is a huge selling point for preschool moms. It's also a huge selling point to homeschool moms.
Right.
Okay, and so your prices are less than babysitter. They're apparently comparable to preschool.
Right.
And for $27 a day, you might consider providing lunch. Ask your customers if they want you to provide lunch or not, because I think they'd rather not have to make one. You could easily bump it up $3 or $4 and just give them a lunch too.
Sure.
It's like, okay, drop the kid off at 9, pick them up at 1.
Right.
Okay, so and by the way, when this is up and running, could it be on an ad hoc basis? Like they could drop the kid off with no prior notice. It's just $10 or $20 more. Is that possible?
I guess it could be. I have a certain number that I can make. I guess the whole idea of the preschool is that you form a very specific daily rhythm, and part of that rhythm is the fact that the children, come on a regular basis and see the same children and do sort of the same activities, a daily rhythm and a weekly rhythm that they get into. So
Yeah.
it would be a different thing entirely, but that is a possibility. I mean, right now we're sort of starting out with this venture, so we're just trying to figure out what makes the most sense. And we're not close to a mall or
Yeah.
we're within 10, 15 minutes, but still that's half an hour
Yeah.
round trip. So so that's just another thing. It's not, there are places right next to the mall where you can go drop your kid for $7 an hour or whatever it is, drop-in care or whatever. But that it's maybe a possibility. I don't know.
Okay, Jack. It's like Jack's texting me. He's going. We have a hard stop at 2 your time. Well, okay, we're not going to go another hour and a half. I'll promise you that. But okay, so okay, I think that how long is this tour, the free tour thing?
What I had was I just made it away to come whenever you want and leave whenever you want, and sort of made it open-ended, and I provided some snacks and cider and stuff like that. But it went from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon.
Till 4?
Yeah.
I think that's a little long.
Okay.
I think personally. Now, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
you should really ask moms these questions. So, but I think it should probably be 2 or 3 hours, especially if the parent has to be there too. You don't want this to take all day long. I think 2 or 2.5 hours is probably about right. So here's what I would do. Okay, so bring your kid, and then we're going to go around and we're going to do all this stuff, and then near the end, Miss Mary is going to take the kids over, or your husband or somebody, and they're going to do this one thing, or they're going to play this game, and you're going to bring all the parents into your living room or the barn or wherever, and you're gonna have a talk called how to get kids in touch with nature in a Xbox iPad world.
Okay.
Okay. And by the way, this is a cause.
Right.
Okay. All right. Like when you say Waldorf, when you say Montessori, all those things, they're like social movements. They're like causes. Okay. This is the Donald and Heidi cause. Okay. And so, and so I guess by way of writing some copy, I mean, I think the way this is really sold is in person, but let's write this down as though we're doing a copywriting job here, and I want you to tell me a story of a time when you became alarmed that kids were over-institutionalized, over-mechanized, over-electronified, and getting completely disconnected from nature.
Okay.
When it hit you personally in your heart.
Okay.
Tell me a story.
So we lived in a townhome in the, right in the city, and we'd go every day. We'd go for a walk and on the trails, and they were just trails, but it was always to get outdoors, and it would always stun me that there were never children playing outside. You'd see these beautiful swing sets, you'd see pictures and outside, and inside the home you'd see the flickering of a television or something, and that children live there because there's all their stuff outside, but you never saw them. And it wasn't just that we'd go at a specific time where you wouldn't see children. It was, we'd go at different times of day, and would never see any children ever. And I just, became alarmed and just talking to my own friends too, at how mothers would say that it made them sad that they were putting on the television as a babysitter, but they just had to because certain things needed to get done and so on. And then I realized that I was sort of doing the same thing with my, I had two 18 months apart, and it was just easy to pop on whatever little show, and then I would watch my boys play, and they only ever played out whatever they had watched. So whether it was Buzz Lightyear or something, they never used their imagination to play. And so I just decided to pull the plug. Actually, we went to South Africa, and we didn't have television where we were staying, and we were there for 2 months. And all they did was play outside in the mud and dirt, and just got completely back to nature. And everything changed. I mean, their attitudes changed. They weren't as violent with each other. And they started using their imaginations as well, and coming up with scenarios and different ways to use natural materials in their play. And it was completely self-directed. I had nothing to do. I was just observing. And that's really when it hit me. I was like, wow, I played that way when I was a kid, and I grew up on a farm and, lived a great life full of imagination and wonder. And I was basically headed straight down a path with my own kids where they were, glued to the television screen or wanted to be, or, let me play Angry Birds, on your phone, and you just keep them quiet in the car. You hand them the iPhone, whatever. And everybody on the mommy forums are talking about what apps are great for your toddler, and that kind of thing. And I'm like, wow, this is just kind of sad. And then when we moved to the farm, obviously that was the biggest change of all. And, we really decided that this is the life we wanted for our children. And just getting them familiar with where their food comes from and that kind of thing. And then seeing their little friends coming over, and you say, oh, do you know what chickens give us? And children don't have a clue. They look at you with big eyes. No, yeah.
Hey, does your go-to meeting have a phone number thing where you could actually call in on a landline? Because your go-to meeting thing cuts in and out quite a bit.
Oh, okay, yes. Let me grab my phone. Hold on. Sorry.
Okay, so as soon as you are able to do that, I'll tell you what to do. But okay, so while she was telling me all that, so here's what I wrote: Epidemic of the Missing Children as a subject line. We lived in a townhome. Jack, you might need to mute her out for a little bit. We lived in a townhome right in the city, and every day we'd go to the park for a walk on the trails. We just wanted to go get outdoors. One day, it stunned me that there were no children playing outside. And I wrote this really fast, so I'd want to flesh this out. But inside the homes, I saw the flickering of television through the windows. You knew children lived there because there's toys were outside, but you never saw on TV children. I would talk to my friends who are moms, and they would complain they would park their kids in front of the TV so they could get something done. I had to confess I did that too. I noticed that my boys would only play games that they had seen on TV. We moved to South Africa and lived there for 2 months. The change in my boys was profound. They had no TV. They started using their imaginations again. They started using natural materials to build forts, and Jack helped me out. What else did kids? Forts.
Oh, the only word that's coming to my mind right now is castles.
Castles. That's fine. Good enough for now. It was their play. was completely self-directed. I realized let's put play that way. I had a great life of imagination and wonder. See, I don't remember what I was headed straight down and I've kind of skipped a couple things here. Okay, so formula, problem, agitate, solve. Tell story that illustrates problem. Then agitate problem. And it's like I got the same problem. I put my 2-year-old asked to watch Wonder Pets, so you put her in front of Wonder Pets, and she's like, Wonder Pets, Wonder Pets, and then she'll watch that. So I can go off and do all the stuff I need to do, but secretly I'm like, only so much of this is good for her, and after that, it's all downhill, right? So, is Heidi back?
No, not yet. Let me see if I can unmute her quick.
Maybe
Heidi,
she's called in, and then we'll be okay.
Heidi, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm also on my cell phone. If you wanted to do that instead.
Well, you gotta call the GoToMeeting phone number. Perry, let's just. I think for.
You think it's okay?
Yeah, I think we should just go with what we got.
Okay, so Heidi, I think so. You kind of see this agitation that we're doing here,
right?
And I'll round this out. But actually, there's a place where I want this to end up going. Where I want to end up going is fast this leads over 20 years and ask yourself where all this leads. Okay?
Right.
Now, and actually I feel very strongly about this because I think where this leads to is adults who cannot think for themselves.
Right. Okay? Or out of the box.
They cannot think out of the box. They're if there's any chance of them being an Einstein, well, that's going to kill it.
Right.
And not that most of us expect our kid to be an Einstein at all, but like don't we at least want our kids to be not necessarily top 5% Harvard or the summa cum laude or whatever, but I mean don't we want them to be the most resourceful people in the community, and don't we want them to live adventures instead of just punching the clock and working for IBM and working for the man and, like spending the rest of their life in front of a flickering TV set and never going outside and being pasty and overweight, like, right?
Right.
We are, it's like, so here's the thing. You're going to plant a question, and by the way, questions are really powerful, especially when you get into controversial topics. In fact, I got a book manuscript where one of the readers did not like what I was trying to say in my book. Like, she disagreed with what? And in the chapters, I would insert all these questions, and she would tell me, stop asking me questions. I'm like, I'm going to ask more questions. Thank you very much. Okay. So here's the question. What life are you programming your child to live? What tracks will they be stuck on as an adult that you laid this week, this month? Okay? Are they, are they to roll down pre-made industrialized tracks? Or, sorry, gotta ignore that. Or are they going to blaze their own trails. Now, there's a bunch of parents, they frankly, truth be actually told, they don't give a flying rip about this.
Right.
Okay, truth be actually told, 70 or 80% of the people out there, they don't want to be bothered with this question.
Right.
However, anybody that would even consider Montessori, anybody who would even consider homeschool, anybody who would even consider a private school,
Mm-hmm.
most people who go to church,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Right.
they're all receptive to this,
Yep.
okay? Do you have any religious motivation in anything you're doing, or is that part of your life?
It is. I'm not sure.
I don't know how to use it. I'm just asking.
Yeah. No, it is. It definitely is. And in fact, that's a huge motivator of ours. And yeah, that's something, we've talked about growing our, if we can get the money coming in through the front door, that we can then use, our resources and our place here to help children, that are in need or in trouble, or, troubled youth, that kind of thing. So that is definitely a motivator and something we'd love to incorporate down the road.
So you can have a different version of your introductory free day that is targeted at religious groups.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
That makes sense. Sure.
And it'll resonate like 3 times more.
Sure.
Or if you have, I don't know how you'd work it in, and we don't really have time to discuss it, but
sure.
If you're going to have certain days that you could teach Bible stories or anything else like that, that's all legit and it should all be on the table.
Okay.
Because homeschoolers, by the way, are 2/3 hard right and 1/3 hard left.
Right.
And the hard right and the hard left are actually quite similar to each other. They have different underlying belief systems about certain religious kind of things, but they actually share a lot of values in common.
Right.
Of that, New Hampshire live free or die kind of thing. Okay. Sure. And that is really who you're talking to. 80-20, the 20% of the world that's going to give you 80% of the attention it's going to be upwardly mobile, self-directed, somewhat entrepreneurial. They don't have to be true entrepreneurs, but they're leaders.
Sure. Right.
Okay. That's who you're talking to. Have you ever seen a magazine called Brainchild?
Yes, I have, actually.
Okay, that is like your quintessential audience if you were going to generalize to a nationwide audience.
Right.
So you're totally right about these mom groups and things like that. MOPS, Mother of Preschoolers. If you hosted a MOPS meeting at your farm, there's a MOPS chapter in like every city, anywhere, right?
Right.
Homeschool groups. I think what you have here is actually a very grassroots thing. And I think that, we do have to turn this into an email. Okay, so let's exercise some discipline and let's turn this into an email.
Okay.
I think this is like actually a blog post where you contact the group, the moms group, the breastfeeding whatever,
Okay. Yeah.
and you say, I have this special thing that I do at my farm, and I do it once a month. 2.5 hours playing and petting llamas and all this, and I have and most of the time you spend with your child, and you play with the plants and you pet the guinea pigs, but there's a part of it where I talk to you about how to unplug from this excessively electronic world, and how to not how to not get your kids in a Dora coma.
Right.
Okay. Which, by the way, that's a phrase my wife used about 2 weeks ago. For my Chinese daughter.
Right.
Who loves Dora. She thinks Dora is Chinese instead of Spanish because she doesn't know the difference. So, all right. So we're writing a blog post here.
Yeah.
How about? Okay. It could just as well be an email. But when my kids were how old? When was it you lived in a townhome? Blah blah blah.
It was 2 years ago, so they were 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Or 1 to 3. 1 and 3. Something like that.
Toddlers, let's just
Toddlers,
say.
yeah.
We lived in a townhome right in the city.
Right.
Okay. Every day we would go for a walk on the trails. We wanted to get outdoors. Okay. You never saw the children. I want to italicize that, but you never saw the children. Let's see. The epidemic of the invisible children. Because missing children sounds like one of those deals.
Yeah.
An Amber Alert. Great.
Right.
But you never saw the children.
Right.
I would talk to my friends who are moms, and they would complain, I did that too. Tell me what the show was, and give me a real for instance.
Well, PBS Kids, they'd watch pbskids.org, and what were they interested in? Franklin, some of the more mellow ones. But my eldest son was really enthralled with Buzz Lightyear. I mean, he was just Buzz Lightyear crazy.
What's his name?
Dylan.
Good name. Dylan was obsessed with Buzz Lightyear. He watched Toy Story how many times?
Oh, gosh.
14
20
times?
I don't know. A lot.
Okay. I started to notice that my boys would only play games. By the way, let's just be blatant about this. Part of what's gonna get parents to come and do this is guilt.
Good.
Okay. So we are just sticking the knife in here, baby. Okay.
Right.
I started to notice my boys would only play games that they had seen on TV. We moved to South Africa. Then we need a transition here.
Well, we didn't move to South Africa. We went on an extended. It was a paid vacation, you could say. It wasn't a vacation. We went there for a job.
Leave.
A leave, yeah.
My husband, is it his job or something like that?
Yeah, he went to help market and open a guest house there for my family.
Okay, all right. Then something interesting happened. And by the way, you'll see this in almost any storytelling email like this is, so you open up, there's this problem, and then the beginning of a solution begins to reveal itself, except that somebody had to be paying attention.
Okay.
Okay? So then something very interesting happened. My husband got a special assignment
Yeah.
in South Africa.
Hmm.
We went on extended leave and lived in what city was it?
It was actually in Pretoria.
Okay,
The middle.
Pretoria.
Preporia. There.
Pretoria?
Yeah.
For 2 months. Um, okay, actually, that's too fast. I got to
Yeah.
move that somewhere else.
Okay.
Um, there, my boys had no TV.
Hmm.
They began using their imaginations again. They started using natural materials to build forts and castles. Their play was completely self-directed.
Hmm.
In just 2 months, the change in my boys was profound.
Yeah.
Okay, then I remembered I used to play that way. I had a great life of imagination and wonder. Did you have a sister?
I had much younger brothers, but I was an only child actually for 8 years. But so I played alone with fairies. I would make fairy gardens and things like that.
Okay, so my sister. I want you to tell me one specific fun thing that you can remember with your sister.
Oh, I don't have a sister. I have
Oh,
brothers.
I'm sorry. I get distracted.
Sorry.
Wait. Who did you
Tiny little.
have? I'm sorry.
I have much younger brothers. Much younger brothers.
Did you have a friend?
Sure.
Okay, so tell me like one cool special thing that you did with your friend.
Okay. We built fairy castles at the base of trees, and we would spend up to 5 hours just making intricate tiny little things for fairies, little tables and chairs and homes for them to sleep on, and just using everything from nature and outdoors, and it was magical.
My friend, what's your friend's name?
Kim?
Kim and I would build fairy castles at the bases of trees, complete with tables, chairs, homes, using everything we could find.
Yeah.
Give me like 2 or 3 or 4 materials that.
Acorns, bark, cotton, flower petals, pine straw, whatever.
Flower petals and what?
Pine straw.
Pine straw.
Yeah.
Okay. When I grew up, that imagination fueled me through. Give me something that took some imagination and some chutzpah to.
Hold on one second, sir. Sorry, I just muted my phone. Sorry. Gosh, well, I never took a direct a path of a normal career path. I worked on yachts and I sailed around the world for 10 years.
Okay, perfect. Okay, this is great. When I was, how old was the yacht thing?
22.
I went around the world doing what with yachts?
Sailing and working on yachts.
And working on yachts.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a little bit of context for why or how that. What was
goodness.
Just a sentence is all I need.
Oh, just the essence of it. And actually, my husband and I did it together. But I was a chef on a yacht, and I just worked my way into that position. But worked on privately owned yachts and just traveled to 40 different countries in 8 years. Working and living on yachts and going to all these different exotic ports, and yeah, it was an incredible life.
Okay, so how's this? When I was 22, I went around the world sailing and working as a chef on yachts with my husband. We hit 40 different countries in 8 years. Only later did I realize that those afternoons building fairy castles with Kim had given me the imagination it took to sail around the world instead of, I don't know, getting an MBA.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was depriving my boys of all those gifts.
Mm-hmm.
One video game at a time.
Right.
All right. Dear parent, I truly know how hard it is to spin 900 plates and raise kids and pay the mortgage. And I didn't say rent because most of your people actually own a home.
Right.
And pay the mortgage and all that. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's damaging your kids. You can't undo that damage. You can't rewind the hands of time. Your kids are only young once. By the way, they are telling themselves this every day because they know it's right.
Right.
I wanted to find a way out of the mechanized, computerized, artificial world.
Right.
I wanted to give something back. So I decided to create an event.
Mm-hmm.
We hold it at our farm once a month.
Yeah.
The parents from all over the metro drive their kids out into the country,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as they cross the threshold of our property, they are in a different world.
Right.
For 2 hours, for two plus hours, parents play with their kids, petting. Give me like 5 things that.
Petting llamas and bunnies, feeding the chickens and the cows,
And give me one more thing.
going on a nature hike through the forest.
Does your husband participate in this thing too?
Yeah, he does.
Okay. And Donald takes the kids on a special what to the what with
well, we've got
not with
we have a pond, and he could do fishing at the pond or trip to the pond
okay,
to fish.
fishing trip at the pond with the kids while I talk to moms and dads about the challenges of growing up natural children in plastic suburbia. Everyone goes home closer to nature and closer to their children. Our next, what do you call these things? These introductory events? So our next free blank is on blank. I'd love you to come. Our next blank is on blank. It's free. All you have to do is sign up here. We do have limited space. Only blank people per outing are permitted. Otherwise, we put you on a waiting list. And I think like that's basically the sales pitch. Heidi, are you there? I think we lost Heidi.
Let me see if I can. Heidi, are you there?
Hold
There
on.
you are.
Yes.
Okay,
There, here I am.
Got you back. All right.
My computer blinked out, and I called you back on my phone. Sorry.
Okay, great. So, did you catch? Okay, so I close it by saying everybody goes home closer to nature and closer to their children. Our next, what do you call these events? What's the name of it?
Well, we didn't have a name for it, but Fun Stuff Farm family events or something like that would be good.
Farm family. Let's call it getaway.
Getaway.
Is
Okay.
on date. I'd love, Saturday, January, blah, whatever. I'd love you to come. It's free. All you have to do is sign up here. We do have limited space. Only blank people per outing are permitted. Beyond that number, we put you on a waiting list. I'd love to reintroduce you to the world God made, that kids were intended to play in and grow up in. I can't wait to shake your hand and meet your sons and daughters.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, Heidi. I see this as being like looking and feeling like a blog post, but it's really an opt-in page. And then now you just get a hold of these different groups and say, hey, we're holding this thing, and here's the story behind it, and you can send an email to your list, and you can post it on your Facebook, and and when it's full, but and you're like, we'll give you guys first crack at it and get as many people. Hopefully, if you can get like a person to champion the thing.
Yeah.
Like, this certain mom is going to try to get all the other moms to come. I think you really have something here, and I think you could have this thing filled to capacity.
Right.
Perry,
yeah.
Someone's asking, how is it that you thought that this was a blog post as opposed to an email?
Okay. I didn't. Because I think she can put it on her website and it's like permanent. That's why. It can be an email. I just I don't know. I know that moms really relate to blogs, and if an email gets sent out to a group of people and it says, "Hey, gang, there's this lady named Heidi, and she's got this interesting thing she's doing on January 22. You've got to read the story, and then go read this, and then they get drawn into the story." I think does that make sense?
Yeah. So if I can connect this to Ryan, whose email you wrote first, it's sort of analogous to his videos that he puts up on YouTube. Like people come to the page and they know instantly either, okay, this guy is what I've been looking for, or like he doesn't resonate with me, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
And so this is her version of putting up YouTube videos. The idea is that the world is going to come there and automatically sift and sort themselves based on this story.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking it would be more palatable to have parents come for a talk on discipline, which everybody wants to know more about anyway.
Oh, okay.
Just get more people in, as opposed to this is more directed towards, the kind of people that do believe that media is hurting their children or whatever. Whereas, but that's what you want to do, correct?
Well, you can talk about anything you want to talk about that you think that particular audience would be interested in. I mean, you can talk about growing organic corn if you want, but
right.
Just whatever the parents would. It's like, wow, that was a cool thing to talk about, but it needs to motivate them to want to sign up. So
Right.
you need kind of a soft pitch at the end, like, hey, if you we got some different programs. We got the 1 day a week program. We got the 5 days a week program. Whatever. And we would really love to have your kids, and you will see your kids transform. In 3 months, your kids will be different kids because they came to the farm every week.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that'll sell.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So something that came up on last week's webinar that I wanted to bring up again is it's something that I've picked up having been on this, is that one of the things that you do, Perry, is that I noticed that you are constantly asking for specifics. So when she was telling the story about, we made things out of natural objects, you said, well, like what? She said, oh, bark and this and that. And she said, okay, well, I played with my friend. Well, what was your friend's name?
Yes.
And so then it seems like I just wanted to point out, because it's something that I noticed that would not come naturally to me, to fill in those details. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So whenever this topic comes up, I always think of Stephen King. And by the way, he's got a book called On Writing, which is very good. It's a great read. And when you read a Stephen King book, he doesn't paint an entire, in most scenes, like you just open randomly to a page. He does not generally give you the whole entire scene in its entirety. In a big picture. He'll give you little slices of it that make it come alive. So if he wants to make you feel really nervous that something's going to happen, it'll say, and Henry sat in the chair and thought, and as he thought, the water from the sink was dripping, and it dripped and it dripped and it dripped, and every time it hit the stainless steel basin, it made a slight pinging noise, and the pinging noise grew louder in his ears with every single one until it was deafening, and suddenly he stood up and he shouted, he screamed this primal scream and kicked down the door and ran outside. Okay, it'll go something like that, and what instead of he won't describe the whole room, he won't describe the whole kitchen, he'll narrow down in like one granular detail where you get every, he might even say, there was a little bubble of rust underneath underneath the surface, where the water had dripped for the last 8 years. And he'll just get really granular, and it's that specificity. When you say acorns and little pieces of cotton instead of natural materials, then you get a specific picture that comes into your mind instead of a general concept, and a picture is way, way more powerful than a concept.
That's great. Another thing I wanted to ask you, Perry, that might be insightful for anyone listening, is there a certain structure to the story? I know you've talked about problem, agitate, solve. Can you go into a little bit more detail about the structure of? Let me pause right there and say that there was a point when you were writing out Heidi's story and you said, "Oh, that's too soon."
Oh, yeah.
So what was it that made it too soon? Because it seemed like you had some sort of natural pacing in your mind, and what you were writing out was violating that pacing. Can you go into that?
Okay, so let's talk about what the specific was. It was, oh, the change in my boys was profound. Yeah, so what we had said was my husband got a special assignment in South Africa. We went on there. My boys, there the change in my boys was profound. So, I guess that's the reason I moved it to the end was, okay, if you look at this as a pendulum, okay, so let me actually, so one day it stunned me that there were no children playing outside. Okay, so this is dropping the pendulum from the far point. Okay? And then it swings, and this is right here. Sorry. Pendulum swung all the way across to opposite side. Sorry. Okay. So I want you to see the rhythm of what's going on here. So one day it stunned me that there were no children playing outside. So it's like we've started the story, and it's like we pushed the pendulum from dead center. One of my kids, and so we're starting the story, and now one day it stunned me there was no children playing outside. So you know, you're going for a walk and everything's fine and there's no problem, but then all of a sudden there's an inflection point, and guess what? There's this problem. And then we start to describe the problem. The pendulum is now swinging faster and faster and faster, but you never saw the children. That's the bottom of the swing. I would talk to my friends and they would complain that and I did this too. I started, actually, I want to say this whole section I'm reading is kind of the full swing across, you know, okay? And then something very interesting happened. My husband got a special assignment in South Africa. We went on a extended leave in Pretoria. There, my boys had no TV. So now the pendulum is slowing down.
Well, okay. Would you? It seems to me that sentence, then something very interesting happened. Is actually the far side, and then it swings back. Am I wrong in thinking?
Well, okay. Sorry, these analogies are kind of goofy. Actually, I would say that then something very interesting happened is probably. That's probably actually the middle. I mean, geez, you know, this is like getting hairy. It's an important transition though, and I guess what's important to say is that what happened was not abrupt, so I don't describe it as abrupt. What happened was her boys got transformed by being in this different environment, and over a period of time she started to see the difference. Now, it's actually not mandatory that we put that comment about, in 2 months the change in my voice was profound, but for me it just seemed more natural to put that conclusion after I'd explained why. Like, nobody's going to have any trouble believing that that was profound.
It is that there's sort of a zigzag to the emails. Things are
Yes,
getting worse, and then they're getting better, and then they're changing one way and then changing another. So so maybe the pendulum moving left and right is not necessarily it's that there are these inflection points, as you mentioned before, sort of a zigzag.
Well, yeah, there is a zigzag, yes. There's a flow to it. Actually, okay, so this is important because, okay, in nature, nothing really goes in straight lines, like rivers, for example. Actually, there was a seminar early this year. I actually brought this book and I explained to people. I was talking about copywriting. A river never runs in a straight line. It always meanders, okay? And it's because in real life there's this natural rhythm to everything. And if you follow the natural rhythm when you tell stories, then it feels real and it's persuasive. What amateur copywriters do is they try to go in straight lines. Amateur copywriters go, hey, you know what? Your kids spend too much time playing on Xbox. Your kids spend too much time watching Blue's Clues, and you know it's really screwed up. And so what we need to do is we need to get them out on the farm, and I got this farm, and you got to come. And that's just not fun to listen to. But when she tells a story, it's got this meandering, a river. It curves to the left, and then it curves to the right, and it curves to the left. Because that's how life is. Does that help?
No, it does. I just didn't want to interject. I remember a newsletter you wrote a while back that was talking about how you had the graph of the amateur copywriter where it's like happy, happy, joy, joy just goes like straight up, whereas I think that's what you called it.
Yeah.
And then the more professional copywriter goes up and then it goes back because the hero has a setback. It's not like a straight line towards nirvana. They have a setback, and then right before they overcome that, and then right before you think that everything's over, but no, there's yet another final setback, and then they win. So it's the back and forth. So my original question was about the pacing. You said, okay, that's too early. So I think what we're talking about here is that we're pointing out that there's a back and a forth, a meandering points of inflection, and that if you have a section in your email where all of a sudden it hits these two inflection points too fast, like you didn't let the pendulum swing, to use your other analogy, like you didn't let the story sort of take its natural turn. And is that why you were saying it was too soon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like we skipped part of the story.
Okay. All right. Great. I just wanted to draw that out to see if if there were some relevant points that would help people tell a better story, because I think everyone would agree that when you're reading a typical Perry Marshall email, all of a sudden you're pulled out of the ordinary world. You're pulled out of whatever's going on, and you're transported into this other world where Perry's dating Laura and the car broke down and something's happening. So how does someone who's not, quote, I'm not a writer, transport someone from their ordinary world into a world where no other distractions are interfering with the message? And so that's what I was really trying to pull out of you, because things like asking about the specific details, what was the name of your friend, what sort of things did you play with, I think that's a big tip that I've learned. And then another one is just to let this back and forth, to have points of inflection, and to let the story run on, not run on, but to have a little, just to take a natural meandering between these points of inflection. And as you pointed out, don't take this straight line path that a lot of new writers or newbie writers would do.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that you've seen, and we can cover this in the next module, but is there anything else while we're talking about typical storytelling or copywriting mistakes? Is there any one thing that we haven't talked about that jumps to the top of your mind?
I'd like to get into this more in the next session, but
Okay.
verbs are really important.
Yep.
You can literally go through anything you've written and highlight the verbs and ask yourself, could I use a more colorful verb than this? Like, how about, she walked down the hallway. Well, let's pick another verb for walked. How about sauntered down the hallway? Well, now all of a sudden, it's a much spicier word than walked. And the way that I think of it as the long tail. So we all know what long tail keywords are. They're the 3 or 4 word phrase in pay-per-click that is more specific. Well, what if you thought of verbs as being long tail? So like walked is in the short tail, right? But then there's all these synonyms for walked that are much less common, and they actually have much more specific meanings. And now we're back to the specificity again. So let's just you can't rewind the hands of time. Well, I could have said turn back, and that would have been a cliche, and that would be fine actually. But rewind is a colorful word. Okay. So let's see. Petting llamas, feeding cows. Now, okay, how about strolling down a nature hike through the forest? Well, strolling, or in the case of kids, it could be and kids scampering down a nature path through the forest. You see how it just brings
totally
so much
changes.
more color.
Yeah, it puts a completely different color on it. This has been great. I want to ask anyone who's on, and there's lots of people on the webinar. If you guys could type in your comments about specifically what you enjoyed about this chapter of Look Over Perry's Shoulder, take a moment right now and type that in, because we read every single comment that you guys have. I've done my best to answer questions as they've been coming in, but it really helps us to have specific feedback from you about how this helped you to better understand how to write your emails, or it could be a blog post or video, what specifically was covered today, or for that matter, for the first two, type that into the comment section and let us know, because we're going to print these out at the end, and we all take a look at these. So, Perry, any final thoughts? Let's cover, while people are typing that in, why don't you talk about what you want to cover, or at least the gist of what you want to cover on the next and final installment of Look Over Perry's Shoulder.
Well, so I would have to think that there are things that I did that you're like, well, why did he do that? And I want to answer those kind of questions. Like, I didn't really think this was going to go. We've been here for 2.5 hours. I mean, sorry, I'm always an optimist, I guess, but we're really running out of time here. But like, I got to think there's things that we didn't really explain that you would like to know, and also more general questions about emails and copywriting, and we could do that on January 8th. You can type those in, and also, whatever the stuff that you did like, there's probably things I could elaborate on that will be helpful. So, yeah, mostly I just did it more than I explained it. So, and so we'll take live Q&A, and
yep.
we'll go deeper.
So any questions that we just didn't get to cover in depth, or even though I tried to answer questions as they're coming in, if you wanted to hear Perry's direct question or answer to that, the third and final installment of Look Over Perry's Shoulder is going to be your opportunity for you to ask Perry that question, ask him whatever writing question or email question, storytelling question that you have, and Perry will go over it. I imagine there's going to be a concept or two that he's going to really drill deep on, but really the primary thing is to focus in on the questions that you have, because this is your opportunity to ask, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Or you brought up this concept and I just want a little bit more clarification. So that's what we're going to cover in the third and final installment. I want to let everyone know, just a quick housekeeping note, some of you are asking where is this going to be. What we're going to do, it should be in the next, I'll call it 48 hours, we'll have a video that's available and we send out an email, and that will be made available in the members area.
Along with the copy that I just wrote.
Yep, along with
exactly as the files are.
Yep, along with the copy. And I don't think we have a copy of my slides from last week, which really just have the questions and the answers for victim numero uno, and then we'll get the slides that you saw today. But really, the main thing that you want are the videos and Perry's emails that he wrote. So with that, that's all I've got. Perry, this has been great. So I think we're ready to wrap up.
Great contestants, or great victims, as you call them. I really appreciated working with both of these folks. So it was great. Thank you.
Good. All right. So we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys for the next and final installment, and that is on what day is it on, Perry?
I think it's a Tuesday, January 8th.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll send out an email to everyone so you know exactly what time it's at. Thank you, everyone. Talk soon.
Adios. Bye.